Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here in my kitchen again with my sewing machine set up, and what I thought we could do today is make some journaling kind of labels using just scraps of paper, or in this case I've got a sort of misprint, you know, when your printer starts running out of ink and then it's printed obviously in a strange colour. So I thought that we could use up sort of scraps and things like that and just make some pretty journaling, you know, what I would call kind of labels. So I've got, these are just some scraps from my food coloured papers. These are some scraps from some scrapbook papers. They have been coffee dyed. This is just that centrepiece, you know, from a doily. And then what I've also brought along is I've bought some lace trims and things like that, which we may or may not use. And then I've bought some book page along, and then some little elements that we may add and sort of decorate some frames up. But I'm going to do sort of, hopefully a variety of different frames, just to give you some, or, you know, just for us to all get some ideas and some inspiration, hopefully, for playing around with sort of scraps and things. So this one here, obviously, this is just a single sheet of that food coloured paper. And as you can see, obviously it's a kind of leftover scrap. I'm going to cut it down a little bit because it's quite square at the moment, and I would probably prefer it sort of slightly more rectangular. So just like that. And then all I'm going to do is stitch around it. I've got black thread in my sewing machine. So I'm just going to stitch around, whoops. And I will probably set my stitch in, it's just a straight stitch, to 3.5 on the length. So it's a little bit longer, because if it's quite short, it sometimes can just tear the paper and not really kind of do a great deal of sewing. So we just do that. And then what I'm going to do, I think, is go round it twice. So it's just making it a bit more of a frame. And I mean, obviously, I am no seamstress, as I say all the time. In fact, I'd best slow my machine down a little bit. So, you know, my frame is not going to be very straight or anything like that. But I mean, I think that all just adds to interest, I suppose, really. I mean, who wants to look at a perfectly straight, you know, absolute line? I don't think there's anything very interesting in that. So I'm just going round all four sides, and I've done it twice. I don't think that probably this is very visible in the camera. So I'm just sort of going around it twice, and then what we do, we just pull that out, and that's just like a little perfect journaling label that then you could stick on your pieces, on your, you know, just down on a page, however you like. So that's just a completely basic, you know, non-decorated one. So let's do some more of those. So from this one, I've got obviously this scrapbook paper. I'm just going to take an end. So again, in fact, I could probably get two out of this. So if I just cut that down here and then just cut it like that. I'll just go along there. You know, because I mean, obviously, they're not a precise size. You literally can do these, you know, any size that you fancy, just using up basically all of your scraps. So let me just pull the sewing machine in slightly. I don't know really how this filming, I sometimes see people manage to get their camera literally like, almost like at the foot of their sewing machine. I have not got the foggiest idea how they do that, to be honest, but hopefully this is at least slightly visible, what we're doing. So I'm just going to do exactly the same, i.e., you know, just go around making a sort of frame, like a double frame, so stitching it twice. As I say, I just quite like the look of having the stitch twice. You could just do it once, of course. I think there's, you know, the two sort of rows of stitching just makes that a bit more interesting. So, and you know, my stitching is so shoddy and terrible. I mean, you probably can see, and I'll certainly point it out in a second, you know, I mean, I've literally gone off of the piece and everything, you know, it's not neat at all, but it still looks fine. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't look terrible. In fact, I'm just going to backstitch a bit where I'd done that on the first way round. So you know, you can just kind of get away with doing lots of, you know, whatever stitching kind of takes place. So like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to undo that. So cutting that off, obviously I've got tons of threads now. Let's just get rid of some of those. Okay, so that's your little label. I mean, to be honest, they're just gorgeous, just exactly like that. But of course then you could decorate that up. So in this case, let's just grab a piece of perhaps some ivory lace or something. Just grab a small piece and we could just stitch that, you know, just kind of across at the corner. So I just pop that down like that. And then what I'll do is turn that round and go sort of back over it. And then I'll just go up the side as well. Okay. How nice does that look? And I mean, that took like 2 seconds and, you know, really cute. And again, brilliant way for using up, you know, scraps of fabric or lace or whatever else really. So let's do another one and we'll try and sort of incorporate some other bits. So again, I'm just going to stitch the basic, you know, frame around this. So let's try and speed it up a little bit because otherwise we might be here all day. Okie dokie. And go round again. I mean, as I say, you know, even if it goes actually off of the edge and everything, it's still fine. It still looks fine, I think. So don't sort of get too worried if your stitching's not neat or, you know, has gone off to the side or anything else. I think it's still absolutely, you know, looks awesome and works absolutely fine. So there we go. Let's just take that out now. Just get rid of those threads. Okie dokie. So this one we've got here, and I just brought along some flowers. So let's kind of add some flowers to this one. Maybe this little sort of cluster here. Now, shall I tear them? And obviously once they're inked up, they're going to look a lot better. Or shall we try and cut these? You know what I should have done was probably do that kiss cutting where I'm not going to have to go quite so in. So perhaps I'll try that now. So, oops. Oh my gosh. These are super teeny to cut. And actually I might just cut that whole branch off, you know, and then I don't have to worry about cutting all that down. So there we go. I mean, I know I've said this so many times, but honestly, flowers are so great because nobody really knows what that flower looked like in the first place. So you can sort of shape it round. If you find one thing is a little bit fiddly or one thing would make it not really fit on your piece, you know, particularly well, you can just get rid of it. It's, you know, it's going to work fine. So that's my little flower. And then I can just stitch that onto here. Now, as I say, I mean, please don't be horrified that this looks really awful, because once this is inked up, it's not going to look awful. It will, you know, it will look fine. So do we want some lace underneath that flower? That's the question. Let's have a look. So we could just have a bit more of that ivory lace, or we could have some different, I guess, some different lace. There we go, like that. So I'm just going to again stitch that down just with a straight stitch going right the way along, sort of attaching that to that little label piece, and then back the other way and then up again. Okay, let me take that out. There we go. I mean, obviously I have threads galore here, so I need to tidy up the threads, which I'll probably do in slow time to save you guys actually watching. But how gorgeous does that little label look? You could always put some little pen lines, or you could even stitch some lines as your sort of journaling lines if you wanted to. Or what you could do is use like a credit card, you know, an old one obviously, or a, you know, a gift card or whatever, and stamp some lines across there. You know, just choices there for you. So if we take now, let's do a different colour one. So I'm just going to take this sheet here. So this is that grape type colour. And again, let's just cut a couple out like that. And I'm thinking you could also layer these up. So for instance, this one actually what I want to do is probably, let's cut that down. Now, I'm being a bit extravagant here with the paper because obviously I didn't think ahead for this. So what I might do is tear this down. Again, probably this would be better if I'd done that a bit neater, because the jaggedy edges might not look quite so good, to be honest. But obviously the idea only just came to me after I'd already cut it out. So I'm just going with it now. So like that. No, right, okay. And then what we can do is pop that on there. I don't know how well that's showing actually. So what you could do is obviously put it on some book page. So let's just put that there. I'm just going to stitch that round here. And obviously it's, you know, it's quite raggedy, as I say. It probably would have been better straight edges, but we can always do the straight edge with this one in a minute and see how that looks. Okay. And again, I might not go around this a second time actually, because, you know, it's backed onto the book page and things. It's got quite a lot going on now. So it doesn't necessarily need the double frame with the stitching, if that makes sense. So we'll just chop that off. And then I'm just going to cut that down. Like that. Okay. Okay, and then I'm just going to, you know, rough that up. So I'm just going to rough that up a little bit. Again, that's personal preference. I just quite like them a little bit, you know, rugged looking. So there we go. And that's then ready for obviously inking. Again, you know, at this point you could stitch some lace on there. So let's just grab a little bit here. And again, I just sort of tear that. So and sort of undo that a little bit so it's a bit more raggedy and thready. I'll just then, I mean, you could just put that on there actually. I'll just stitch that down. Oops, now I've lost my thread. Oh my gosh. I thought it was only a matter of time before this started going wrong. It was all going a bit too smooth, really. I'm obviously getting a bit overconfident with my abilities on the sewing machine. Right, there we go. Let's just bring that back through. Right, let me do that again. So we just then stitch that down. And I'll just go back. Actually, I'll just attach it there. And then just go back round again. Okay, and then just come back up. There we go, and then let's just take that out. Oh, this one's gorgeous, my favourite one, I think. I mean, as I say, they're going to look quite different once they're inked up anyway, but how pretty is that? So, yeah, I love that one. And then let's do a sort of double layer of the same colours, because what I'm thinking, so let's rough these edges up. I mean, again, you know, in hindsight, I probably would have torn this out. But, you know, folding it, and tearing it down. So as I had the rough edges, but still straight. But you know, if ever you wanted that look, this is just a perfect way to achieve that, I think. So, right, so I'm going to just pop that down there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just try and do it here now. So I'll just then tear this down like that. And then, well, I might just cut around it actually and just rough it up. So just going to then, whoops, stitch around here. Okay, and then okey-dokey. And you know, I mean, another thing, obviously play around with your threads, because different coloured thread is obviously going to produce, you know, different results, and you know, it will all kind of change the looks completely just by the colour of the thread. So don't be you know, afraid to change your colour threads and things. So we'll just quickly do this one. Okey-dokey. Right, and then I'll bring this one out, and what we'll do is, this is just the quicker method really for when you're doing a video. So just cutting that down, and then, whoops, get that off of the sewing machine because it's still attached. So hold on, right, oops. And then I'm just going to rough the outer edge up, if you see what I mean, because we'd roughed the inside frame up. So we're just going to then, you know, rough this one up like that. Okay, and then, oops, again, can just literally add, you know, teeny bit of lace. So actually I might even add a little tiny bit of black, I think, because, you know, I always love using the black lace. So perhaps we'll just have that just there. And then I will neaten that lace up in a moment. So I'm just going to stitch it on. I'm just back stitching it completely up because it's just nice and quick to do that. Okay. Take that out. Oops, now my bobbin's run out. Oh gosh. Right, let me just stop the thing and wind another bobbin. Okay, right. So now I'm just going to stitch this. Just going back and forth now. Just go back up that with the back stitch. Like that. That's it. And then take that out. And then I'm just going to trim that down like that. So isn't that gorgeous? And I mean, oops. Oh, I don't know what's happened there. Look, I'm back to my old standards of sewing, obviously. So that's that. And if I've got some bling here, I can just kind of show you. Oh, perhaps I haven't got any bling here. I mean, I have, obviously, but whether I've got it handy is another thing altogether. No, I can't see any, you know, really close by anyway. No, I can't see any, I'm afraid. But, you know, that's so simple. And all you'd have to do is add a little tiny bit of bling to that. And that would be just finished off beautifully. So then what I've got here, this is one that I had a misprint on the back. So again, you could take your sort of pattern papers and do the same again. So just cut a little piece there, and I'm just going to chop it down to make it, you know, a good size. I think we'll come in a bit like that. And then again, sorry, I've just got my carrier bag there for my rubbish. So we go, whoops, round that again, making a little frame. you know, and I mean, of course, you don't have to just stick with a straight stitch. You could, you know, get experimental with your stitches and things like that as well. I mean, I think the straight stitch is quite nice for these because I think they're quite tiny, you know, they're quite small, and, you know, they're effectively, you're trying to do like a label. So, you know, I think the straight stitching works quite nicely. But let's have a go at one in a moment with a zigzag and sort of see how that looks. Or you may want to just add a zigzag in sort of one spot or something like that. So take that one out. Looks gorgeous. I mean, obviously, because you're wanting it as a little journaling label, you know, you're not going to want to use really dark sort of background page or patterned paper. But if it's quite pale like this, it just works perfectly. And then you might want to add, say, a little flower or something like that just in the corner. Again, we could maybe just put some, you know, sort of straggly, scraggly lace just down there, like that. And we'll just stitch that on. We'll just stitch that down there. And then along this side. How cute does that look? Absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? So, you know, super fast, but really quite cute, I think. I mean, again, I'll obviously tidy up the threads a bit later, but just to give you some sort of rough ideas, basically. So we'll do one with zigzag. As I say, I mean, I haven't tried a zigzag stitch with these. I don't know whether, you know, whether it's going to be too big, because obviously the pieces are not, they're not that big. But let's have a go. So let me just adjust my, and you know, I'm terrible with my sewing machine, so I have not really ever experimented with the zigzag stitches. So I have a setting that I always use, but it may be that I could get a smaller zigzag, if you see what I mean, because this maybe it's quite big for this. Let me just have a look. Okay, so that's the zigzag. I don't know. I think for me personally, I prefer the straight stitch. But you know, having said that, I don't dislike this stitch. As I say, I mean, you probably can sew on your sewing machine a lot better than me, so you're probably quite good at doing smaller zigzags and things like that. I need to obviously improve a little bit with my machine, but you know, that's, I guess, for starters, you could have something like that. And then what I've also brought along is some of my little numbers. So again, could probably take off, actually, I've got some ready cut out here, which might just be a better shape for this one. So, because I'm thinking I would quite like one of the sort of rectangular ones. Have I got one here? I mean, it's just going to be typical, isn't it, that I'll have everything but the shape that I've got in mind. Yes, I haven't got the shape that I really had in mind, but actually I could have this one. That's quite nice on there. So again, let's just take a little bit of lace. I wonder if we should have black here. Just bring in my black lace. Just have that just there, like that. So I'll probably now, I think go with the straight stitch here and just sort of attach it like that. Again, you know, I don't know how that will look. Okay. Right, so I mean, that looks fine actually, doesn't it? Looks quite nice with that stitched through like that. And, you know, I mean, you've got endless options really with these. So if I just bring in now, I've got that, what's this called? You know, from the doily, the inside of the doily piece. So if I just take here a size piece there for a label, like that, and just trim that down. I'm thinking could put it on here, because this is quite nice paper, isn't it? You know, because it's very thin and sort of delicate looking. So let's just throw it that way up, I think. So we'll just stitch that around. Whoops. And again, you know, I mean, actually this would probably look quite good with white thread now, or, you know, ivory thread, to keep it looking quite delicate. Obviously, you know, I'm using the black and I now can't really be bothered to change my thread during the video. So I will just obviously persevere with the black, but you know, you could change the thread to something more neutral and it would keep that whole delicate sort of thing looking on there then. So we just go round like that. And then again, I'm only going to do the one line of stitching, I think, for this one. I don't know why, but for some reason I couldn't really imagine this with the double line. I don't know why, because it probably is barely noticeable. But yeah, for some reason it was just seeming too cool to me that it just wanted one. And then what I'm going to try, I think, is just to tear this down. I don't know whether this doily paper will tear very well. It may just kind of, yeah, not brilliant, but it's okay. I'll just tear it now like this, I think. Okay, like that. Obviously I've got these little bits here from, you know, where the doily section was attached to the solid paper. So we'll just tear that down like that. Okay, so I mean, again, you know, that looks really nice, but if you picture it all inked up, it's going to obviously change that and look, you know, even nicer. So again, just bring in some little bit of lace here. Maybe have that maybe down there. And then wonder, did tear out a flower whilst I stopped the video. That's not really the right colour. Ooh, I have got some butterflies here. So let's just cut out this green one. I think that might look quite nice. And these are just obviously my butterfly printables. So there's lots of different colours on there to give you lots of different, you know, you could use them with lots of different colours because you've got lots of different colours on there. But I've got this one which is this nice green and sort of beige tones. So it would just pick up those colours quite nicely, I think. So what we could do is just have a little butterfly there, whoops, like that, just with that bit of lace. So I'll just then stitch straight through that with just that straight stitch, whoops. Okay, and then go back up. There we go. And I mean, obviously you could just add a little dab of glue or something to that butterfly as well. Or, you know, just leave it. I mean, actually in hindsight, I could have gone through the middle of the butterfly. But, you know, just play around. I think you could do lots of different things. I don't think there's kind of one thing's going to be better than another. I think they're all going to look quite good in their own way. So that's that one. Let's do, what was the other one? Oh, I've got this green, which I had totally forgotten about. So let's do one just quickly with that green food coloured lace because I love that colour so much. So, right, this is a little bit torn, I have to say, which is a bit of a shame, but obviously it got torn in the, you know, in the process of dyeing it. So we'll just trim that down. Oh my gosh, it's gone static and it's sticking all over the sewing machine. So let's put this, again, let's put it onto the, you know, the doily paper. So we'll just, again, stitch around that quickly. Okay, and then coming down the edge. Like that. Okay, and then just up the final edge, and then, oops, I have to go back down there a bit. Okay, take that out, and we will just then, oops, tear that down a bit. Wow, I've really made a mess of tearing this one down, I must say. Yeah, I don't know quite what happened there, but it's turned out very straggly, but it doesn't matter, you know, because again, anything goes really with junk journals, so it will be fine. And I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of this lace, like that, actually, and that's going to cover that anyway, so don't need to worry about that. Now, do we want to have another butterfly? Oh, this is quite a good colour. Just picks up that gorgeous colour from that coffee dyed lace. So just cut around there. And then this one, I think what I'll do is what I probably should have done with the other one, and stitch it through the middle of the butterfly rather than, you know, through the middle of the butterfly, but going the other way, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to go through like the body instead. So we'll put this on here, and then what I'm going to do is just stitch it through here. And then, you know, it doesn't matter because you can always then actually glue down your lace a little bit if you need to. So just go straight through there, like that, and then take that out. Yeah, that's much better. I don't know what I was thinking with that other one, to be honest. Just sometimes you think, oh, I'll try this. And then, you know, for me personally, I'm not probably over keen on how that looks now, but, you know, it still looks fine. And actually, if I'm that unhappy with it, what I can do is print another butterfly and put it on top so it's got like, you know, a 3D effect going on with two butterflies. But that's that one, which, you know, I feel a bit more happy with the stitching through the center, and obviously that's attached to that lace, and if I just want to, you know, dab a bit of glue on, the lace would be more permanently fixed. So I hope that you like them. I just thought I would come on and do that little share. I just thought they were really super quick and easy little label pieces for your journals, and yeah, just super versatile, you know, really simple, quick and easy to make, great way of using up all your scraps and things. And, you know, I think you can do quite a lot with them, and really, you know, you can make them very fancy, very embellished, or keep them quite simple. I mean, that one obviously is completely plain, but no less lovely. I think it looks really great. So yeah, I hope that you liked them, and have fun if you decide to try some. I will try and come back with a video, obviously using some of these, and give some ideas of, you know, how they would look then. So thanks very much for joining me, and hope you all have a great day. Thanks then. Bye.